G'day, g'day, my name's Jim and today I'm going to be telling you why I think I was born in the wrong decade. I think I should have been born 20 years earlier or 20 years later. I was brought up in a shitty time in Australian history. You see, I was born in the early parts of the 1970s. Okay, calm down hippies, don't get your dreadlocks in a knot. I can hear you yelling at the screen. 70s was sick, man. Drugs, sex and rock and roll. Yeah, true, we had bands like ACDC, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Queen, the Sex Pistols, the Clash, the Ramones. Everybody had long hair, they were into rock and roll, we had panel vans, surfing was all the rage. People did a lot of smoking and chilling, of course, and, well, non-stop shagging. We had cars like the Monaro, the GT and the Torana. So, what's wrong with the 70s, you're asking? Probably not a great deal, I guess. Depends on who you ask, but I didn't grow up in the 70s. I was born in the 70s. My childhood was the 80s. You see, by the time I was 13, and I was just getting old enough to explore life, well, explore my town anyway at least, I'd missed out on the sexual revolution of the 60s, I've missed out on the drug revolution of the 70s, and, well, we were now in the middle of the 80s. Roc Hudson had just died of AIDS, and in those early years, no one knew what the hell was going on. All movie stars and rock stars were dropping dead, and nobody knew how you caught AIDS except it was for sex. Just what a 13-year-old boy wants to hear. If you have sex, you're going to die. We went from Jimi Hendrix, Black Sabbath and Deep Purple to Boy George, Madonna, George Michael, Bryan Adams and, oh, Christ, flock of fucking seagulls. No, but it gets better. We had Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher and Mikhail Gorbachev. They were like having a dick measuring competition during the height of what's now known as the Cold War. So, what was living in this time like? Well, basically turn on the news, and every time they say COVID, virus or pandemic, just change it to thermonuclear war. If that wasn't scary enough, in 1986 the Soviet nuclear reactor at Chernobyl explodes. That was a bit of a bummer, man. Everyone was like thinking we were going to grow two heads and die as the news every night showed us a colourful map of radiation clouds that were working their way around the globe. It was the number one thing people worried about. Well, that and acid rain. We had movies like The Day After, Mad Max, Silkwood, The Manhattan Project, War Game with Matthew Broderick about the world being blown up from an AI computer. We had songs like 99 Red Balloons, a haunting tune about an accidental nuclear war occurring. Such fun and joyful times. We had to listen to our governments talking about MAD program, which is the Mutual Assured Destruction. In other words, if we can't have the planet, then nobody will. We'll blow the cunt right out of the solar system. Just what you want to hear when you're just going into your teen years. Growing up all through my teens, we only had 2 channels. And they both shut down at midnight. Most houses only had one TV in it, and that was always in the lounge room. You had to get up to change the channel or to turn the bloody thing up and down. At my dad's house, I wasn't even allowed to turn on the TV until 6 o'clock at night when the news was on. Video games were the size of fridges, and when they did start coming out like Nintendo, Commodore 64 and Atari, they were rich kids' toys. My mum could never afford anything like that, being a single parent, and my dad said, "They're a fucking stupid waste of money." Being in Australia, we had more British shows than American, and we were still watching 1970s cast off, of course, because when you only got 2 channels, you ain't got much fucking choice. They don't really have to try very hard on what they put on. We had things like Morecambe and Wise, The Benny Hill Show, Are You Being Served, and Dad's Army, just to name a few. Yank shows were constantly repeated. I Dream of Jeannie, Lucille Ball, and my all-time fucking favourite, The Waltons. From the time I was born to the time I was in my 30s, we had crappy analog Cafe Ray TVs. They were so big and so fucking heavy, when your TV died, you just sat another one on top of it, so you didn't have to drag the fucker out and go and try and take it to the dump. Sup, trendsetters? Check out the crappy view numbers on this video. No one is watching my videos because, well, nobody can find the channel. It's lost in the YouTube algorithm, buried deep down in the dungeon of lost souls. So do me a favour, take a sec to sign in, hit the thumbs up button, and don't forget to sub. After all, you'll never know when you may need a kidney. Just don't ask for a liver. That ship sailed a long time ago. A trillion other things happened in the 80s and 90s, like John Lennon being shot, and Tiananmen Square, the space shuttle blowing up, and of course we did have some good bands as well. We had the Divinals, Def Leppard, Bon Jovi, Roxette, ZZ Top, Aerosmith, Van Halen. The big thing was you couldn't take advantage of this stuff. You had no digital recordings, you had no internet, you had no MTV. We had records, vinyl records, and cassettes. And they both cost money. In fact, they both cost quite a lot of money. So, like millions of other Generation X out there, I made mixtapes from the radio. We had one local commercial station and one national non-commercial station that was basically just all news. Teenagers used to ring up the radio station of a Friday night and ask for their favourite song, and then you would sit there very patiently and wait and wait and wait and wait. And then if it came on, then you'd hit record on your ghetto blaster to record that tone-rich, beautiful AM radio sound on a 2-track audio cassette. And of course the DJ would always talk over the last 30 seconds of the song, just to piss you off on purpose, no doubt. Hey, you were there, KGC, the top of Bass Bob and Rocks, and that was tonight's Top 40. After you'd managed to record it, you could then blast that horrendously shit recording back, right up until the point your sister kicks down your door and takes the power cord out of the back of the stereo. Mom! Okay, look, good things did come out of the 80s and 90s. In fact, it would take me forever to name them all. It was just, the biggest problem was you couldn't take advantage of stuff like you do now. Like, just listening to your favourite song on YouTube or something, or even downloading it if you wanted to. Watching a show on Netflix on demand. Having a favourite show in the 80s and 90s meant you could be waiting a week for the show to come on, and if your brother or sister or mother or someone talked over the top of it, that was it. You miss the episode, you might never ever see it again. So, let's say you're a Guns N' Roses fan, okay? So, unless you got $25 to buy the album, which your average teenager back then did not have, you got to hear it, maybe one or two songs on the radio. It's almost like, well, what's the point? They might as well not exist. In my opinion, it wasn't until the middle of the 2000s that the information age really kicked in. Now the average person could afford a computer. You could pick up a Pentium 2 for $300. You could also pick up a decent PlayStation or Nintendo second-hand for the family. Like, when I was a teen, I was a good singer and a guitar player. I wrote quite a few songs, but you wanted to record that, you had to pay time in a recording studio to even get a half-decent recording. Now, you can make a sick-ass album or even a movie in your own bedroom on your laptop. Hang on, that sounded a little wrong. Movie in your bedroom. Let's just brush over that one, shall we? Anyway, now I'm 50 years old, I don't have the voice anymore. Just another reason why I think I was born too early.
Techno.